Alrighty, so it's time to do one of the longest review of the season as we're going to talk about the 12 games that happened yesterday in terms of a busy Saturday night action of match week number 22 of the 2022 MLS regular season. And if you were the road team yesterday, you had a great night because 8 out of the 12 road team was able to get a point, and pretty much half of the team that played yesterday in the Saturday night action was able to walk away with all 3 points. But we start off with the first game, which is NYCFC versus Inter Miami of what looked like is the farewell game for Tati Castellanos, even though there is no confirmation that the rumor of him potentially going to Girona is going to be the case. And in fact, it's not just Girona is the team that potentially is looking to sign Tati Castellanos. There's now more teams that are rumored to do so, including the rumor of him going to Palmeiras, which that rumor seems like it never dies. And then there's also some team in the Premier League that is looking to try to get their hands on getting Tati Castellanos. And again, as the day goes along, it's going to be very interesting to follow this transfer saga going on, because again, it feels like with the way that he was getting a standing ovation when he was subbed off in this game, especially the reception that he received, it seems like this indeed could be the final game for Tati Castellanos, but he definitely made a memorable one in this one. Though early on in the first half, NYCFC was definitely on the front foot as Morales blasted one high from long range, but then in the 12th minute, he would score from Tati Castellanos to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead, and somehow, in some way, Morales was able to score that one from the tightest of angle. And if you're Drake Calendar, that has to suck, because he did a good job in terms of cutting down that angle, but Maxi Morales is just too good. I mean, he somehow able to score from the tightest of angle, pretty much 5-hole Calendar there from a tight angle to give NYCFC the 1-0 lead. And then Castellanos, I talk about this is a big game for him because it looked like could be his final game with NYCFC, but he hits one right to Calendar, and it was all NYCFC early in this game, and you just fear that Miami was going to get blown away in this, because once NYCFC gets going, this season there's times where they can score 2, 3, 4, and 5 goals very quickly. And then in the 25th minute, Johnson did deny Gibbs, as that was Miami's first opportunity. And then in the 32nd minute, we thought the fairy tale happened, as Tati Castellanos looked like he scored his 12th goal of the season, but unfortunately the flag does not care about fairy tale endings because it was raised, and yeah, that of course was offside. And when you look on the replay, it was close, but I think he was just a hair offside there. And yeah, unfortunately for Tati Castellanos, no farewell goal in this one, or at least up to this point in this game. But in the 36th minute, Johnson did deny Mota from close range, and despite they're still dominating NYCFC, they got to be careful not to get caught out against the run of play, because Miami had a couple of opportunity, even though they were second best in this one, and John Johnson had to make some big save to keep this one only at 1-0. Castellanos then fires it wide in the back post. You knew how much he wants a goal in this one. Like he has done so much for NYCFC, and you know that before he leaves, he definitely wants to score one last goal for this team. But we do head to halftime with NYCFC with a 1-0 lead over Inter Miami, and in the second half, Acevedo puts it wide off of a deflection before in the 60th minute. That's when the curtain call began, as Tati Castellanos was subbed off in this what might be his final NYCFC game, and the 20,000 so inside Yankee Stadium was in a standing ovation. I mean, well deserved. And again, it's kind of sucks the fact that we didn't see him get on the score sheet one last time. I mean, he did get on the assist chart, but in some way you kind of wish he got on the score sheet to conclude a a fairy tale ending for NYCFC, and just what a career he has had with the team, and really now at a level where he's definitely ready for the next step of either going to Europe or potentially play for a big club down in South America. But yeah, it was a standing ovation. Definitely a bittersweet moment for all those NYCFC fans that was in the stands. Though in the 63rd minute, Morales puts it wide from close range. As again, NYCFC, even though they were dominating this game, it's still 1-0, and you know that when you leave a game 1-0 for so long, it doesn't matter how you dominate. You're basically letting the opposition a chance to get an equalizer. And for Miami, they were thinking maybe they can get themselves back. No. Aber would score in the 75th minute to pretty much put this game in out. Pereira trying to make it 3-0, but he puts one right to counter before a counter had to deny Thiago Andrade from long range. And NYCFC, they were not done. Like, they were not letting off. They were hungry to try to get that third goal. Johnson then denied Rodriguez from close in the 90th minute, but in the end, it was NYCFC with a dominant 2-0 victory against Inter Miami. As the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 11 that Inter Miami has, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that Inter Miami has, 9 shots off target compared to 2 that Inter Miami has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that Inter Miami has, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And yeah, the Tati Castellanos era for NYCFC looks like it has now been concluded, and like I said, it's going to be very interesting these next couple of days to follow where exactly he is going to go. And it's also going to be interesting to see how NYCFC is going to look at after the post-Tati Castellanos era. And I think it's also important that not only NYCFC scored that second goal that was not coming from Tati Castellanos, and none of the goal score was, but also Aber actually scored that. And you just wonder, maybe this is a passive torch that Aber is now going to be the guy that will carry this team, and maybe even a lot of these NYCFC attackers going to do so, because you know that this team still has quality. And even though, I mean, there's that question of what is this team going to look like, and is this team going to be okay without Tati? I think so. I think they just have too much quality on the attacking end, and they're slowly start to figure things out in these last couple of games. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is FC Cincinnati versus Nashville SC, and this turns out to be a very frustrating game for Cincinnati, because this was a game where, you know, for most part of it, they dominate. And yeah, I mean, you know, the coming into this game, I talked about how their inability to win home games, and that they're drawing a lot of games in these in this bad run that they have, and this is the last thing they need, which is another draw against Nashville SC. Though, as much as I said that they were dominating this game for a majority part of it, that was not the case for the first 15 minutes, because Nashville actually got off to the better start, and they took the lead just 6 minutes in. And guess who took the lead? It's Teal Bunbury that took the lead. Remember him? A guy that looked like he was the forgotten man in Nashville, and that I don't think a lot of people thought that he was still playing in the league with how few appearances that he's made for Nashville SC. But he gets on the score sheet, and that was his first goal for Nashville FC, but also some poor set piece defending from Cincinnati. Like, that ball was pinball in the box from the corner. They did not clear their lines there, and when you don't clear your lines on a set piece, you're basically asking to get score on, and that's exactly what happened in that play. And as I said, it was a slow start for Cincinnati, and Nashville was definitely having the momentum as pressing for the second goal. Though Vasquez did blast it high in the front post in the 14th minute, and this is when Cincinnati started to take control of the game. Brenner then heads it wide in the near post before he heads it wide again after Willis missed the punch there. So very fortunate for Joe Willis, because anytime when your goalkeeper comes out and you miss the punch, I mean, that's definitely a hold your breath moment if you're goalkeeper, and will not be a good look if you actually concede a goal there. But like I said, Cincinnati has got into this game, and they were pressing for the equalizer. Barrial hits one straight to Willis before Powell blasts one right into the Bailey. And again, Nashville, they was just getting pinned deep. Like, you know, I get that they were trying to do their typical Nashville style, where they decided to just sit deep for the entire game and hold on to this 1-0 result. But at the same time, you also need to try and attack, and there was no point up until like the 15th, after the 15-minute mark, where I saw Nashville even getting close to the Cincinnati half, as Cincinnati was just putting onslaughts of pressure, getting some really good chances, but somehow the visitor was able to hold up to a 1-0 lead. Though that lead wouldn't last long heading into the second half, because after Nelson blasts one that was deflected wide, Cincinnati would get that deserved equalizer. And guess who else but Brendan Vasquez scoring from Barrial and Kubo. I swear, you know, Brendan Vasquez, I think you can clearly say he should maybe get a look in for the U.S. men's national team, and as we get close to the September window and get close to kind of the dress rehearsal before the big event in the World Cup in November in Qatar. I think Greg Berhalter might think about calling Vasquez in and have a look to see maybe he could be the answer in terms of the number 9 situation, and especially the fact that I'm pretty sure the U.S. men's national team's got to realize that you know, they need to captain Vasquez soon, because you know Vasquez is a duo national, and you know it's interesting to see which side he's gonna take, either the U.S. or with the Mexican national team, and we've seen it so many times before where dual national, we have some that decide to commit without Tree, some commits with the U.S. men's national team, and I'm just hoping for Brendan Vasquez, he would decide to choose the U.S., which is also the reason why the U.S. probably need to take a look at it, because El Tree is probably monitoring his status too, and they want to get him to join their side in the international competition. But again, Cincinnati ties the game up, and while it was also a great set piece play from Cincinnati, there was a lot of ball watching that was going on for Nashville, and I don't think that's a big surprise, because that's kind of the story for them in the last 2 seasons, where this team just for whatever reason struggled to defend set pieces, and they have given up a lot of set piece goal once again this season, and this was just the latest one of them, and the game was all tied up at 1 apiece. And then Vasquez looked like he was trying to score his second goal, but missed just wide on the curler. That one did not miss by much, and TKO Stadium knows it. Like, it was rocking. They were trying to will the home team the go-ahead goal, though Nashville almost silenced that crowd just 1 minute after I wrote that, as Zimmerman could not quite tapped it in the back post. And this was very similar to the first goal that Nashville scored, where the inability for Cincinnati to clear their lines almost cost them a goal again. And then Leal fires one right to Salatano, and then we kind of become getting a stretch where, it was a tightly fair match where both teams didn't really had a lot of chances. In fact, we didn't have another chance until the 3rd minute of stoppage time, when Willis denied Brentner after he actually spilled the ball coming into the box. So another nervy moment for Joe Willis, and another moment where he got away with a potential goalkeeping howler. But in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, and the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 that Nashville has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots that was off target, 3 shots that was off target compared to 8 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Nashville has in this game. And, again, for Cincinnati, they'll be very frustrated because the fact that they were the better team for majority part of this game, and that, drawing games is not going to help your causes in terms of rising up the standings. I mean, just as Nashville last season, of how they also fell in the victim of drawing way too many games, and although eventually it did get themselves as high as third place because they didn't lose a lot of games, that's not the same case for Cincinnati. I mean, they also have lost a fair amount of games and also drawing games, and that they need to start getting some wins, especially at home, if they want to stay in the play or stay above the red line. But for Nashville, it may not be the result that they were looking for, because it's been a bit of a rough patch that Nashville has gone through. But consider the fact that they were second best for majority of the game and still able to walk away with a point. I think they'll definitely take it. But moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of a home team that should have got a win, is the Columbus Crew against the New England Revolution, where I feel like this was once again very similar to the game that they had a couple of matches ago, and I forgot who exactly they played, where they pretty much dominate for a majority of the game. Oh, it was the Philadelphia Union, where they play at Lower.com Field, where they dominate majority part of the game. They had most of the chances, and they just could not find their finishing. And here we go again in this one, very similar against New England, had a lot of chances, but the finishing was just not there in this one. Now, in the 7th minute, Williams heads it wide from close range before I thought Columbus started out the better side and was straight away looking for the opener. Cucho then fired one right to Petrovic. I mean, you would have definitely bet your money that Cucho Hernandez would score again in this one, but for the first time in his MLS career, he was kept quiet and did not get on the score sheet. Though he definitely tried to do so again in the 19th minute, but he fires one into the stands. And then Tristanson with a rare chance for the Revs as he puts one right to Eloy Rome. And then Petrovic denied Santos, but did allow a rebound, which Zarian actually got a hold of that rebound on the header, but somehow it was clear off the line by Kessler. Like, there was some heroic defending from New England and some great goalkeeping from Petrovic to really keep this game scoreless as long as possible, despite just being dominated for majority part of this game. Now, in the 31st minute, Diaz would fire one right fire one wide from long range, and then And then I thought Columbus, not only knocking on the door of this game, but can they be a little bit more clinical in terms of their finishing? Like, they're doing a very good job in their build-up and creating these chances, but it's just the finishing that is a problem and the reason why it's still scoreless. Petrovic then punched a Diaz cross that kind of pinball off of Etienne, and it goes wide, and yeah, that was very lucky for the refs, because anytime when you have those kind of deflection, or in this very on moment where Petrovic punched that one out, but it redirect right off of one of the Columbus player, that could have easily gone into the back, and yeah, he is fortunate the fact that did not happen, and it goes wide of the net. And then Zarian fires it wide from 35 yards out, and when Zarian hits a free kick, no matter where it exactly is, it's going to be close, and that definitely was close, even from a far out distance. But we do head to halftime scoreless in this one, and in the second half, Kessler heads it wide from close range before Petrovic denies Santos from long range. Then Cucho fires it over from close range, and it just feels like, is this one of those games again, similar to the one that I mentioned against the Union at home, where they just could not find their finishing, and it looked like it could be a scoreless draw again. Legit with another rare opportunity for the refs, but he had a weak effort that goes straight to room, and then Cucho fires one right to Petrovic, and that was really the last chance of the game for this one, as indeed it did end in a scoreless draw between the Crew and the Revolution. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 5 that New England has, 2 shots on goal compared to 7 that Columbus had, 2 shots off target compared to 7 that Columbus had, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 3 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that New England has in this game. And like what I said in that Cincinnati versus Nashville game, the visitor is going to be the more happier side, because, even though this is not what the Reds were hoping for, because they want to get a big win to get themselves above the red line, consider how they were pretty much outplayed for the majority of the game. They're probably very fortunate that they were able to walk away with a point, but also for Columbus, it's got to be very frustrating, the fact that, yes, they do extend their unbeaten streak, but this is a game where they clearly should have won with the amount of opportunity that they had, but they just weren't clinical enough, and they dropped 2 valuable points that, could come back to haunt Columbus if this team does find themselves in the playoff bubble, which is kind of where they are right now. They're sitting pretty close above that red line, and they definitely need to win some games if they want to get themselves staying away from that red line, because there's going to be some hungry team below the red line that is looking to try to overtake that spot. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Orlando versus the Philadelphia Union, and this was a very controversial game. And I know Orlando City fans are very upset about the refereeing in this game, and especially about that call in stoppage time of that non-penalty that was given against them, and that I'll definitely talk about why exactly that call is that, and whether or not if that was the right call, that VAR basically looked at it and did not give a penalty for Orlando City late in this game. Now, early on, there was not much happening in the first 15 minutes, as there was not a shot throughout the first 15 minutes. In fact, the first big opportunity came in the 26th minute, as Carranza actually tried to chip Galese from the halfway line, but missed just high there. I mean, that was some audacity there from Julian Carranza to try to chip Galese, though. I think he probably saw Galese came off his line way too much, and yeah, why not have a go? See if you can do a David Villa kind of chip goal from halfway line and score in the back of net to really not only guarantee yourself the goal of the week, but nominate yourself of winning the goal of the year. But unfortunately, it did not happen, as that one missed just high. And then Facundo Torres on the other end had Orlando's first big opportunity, but he missed wide from close range. And then Carranza had a header that was deflected wide, and the game kind of started to come alive after a tight first 25 minutes. And it's unsurprised that we would get our first goal of the game. And this was also a controversial one, because Gazdag would score here from Glesnes and Wagner to give the Union a 1-0 lead. And apparently, they actually did go to VAR to see whether or not indeed this actually was an offside, as originally this goal was disallowed for offside. And they go to VAR and they said that the goal of course, or actually no, the offside side would actually be neglected, and that the goal, of course, would be given to the Union. Now, what's controversial about this one is the fact that when you look on the replay, Yeah, it was very close. Like it was maybe a centimeter onside from Carranza, and again, I think if you have a situation where if MLS do what the Premier League does with all those rulers and all those lines, I think this one would have been given offside, and that we also seen before where sometimes when you have a call that is not clear and obvious, and again, it is very important to remember this goal was disallowed as its original decision. And when I look on that replay, I mean, I just don't think that was clear and obvious enough to say that that should be overruled of being an offside. And that if Orlando City fans were angry about that, then I think they definitely have a right to do so, because again, definitely didn't look like clear and obvious. But that's just the problem with MLS and in terms of VAR ever since it's introduced, where the clear and obvious kind of definition varies by different crews operating the VAR, and that's kind of something that is very frustrating and something that is kind of hard to fix, because clear and obvious is a very vague kind of definition, and that I really think that even if I do a video talk about how they can fix it, there's really no real solution in terms of doing that. And unfortunately for Orlando, they was just kind of on the hard end stick, where maybe this crew feel like that was clear and obvious enough to give that goal or to overrule the original offside call that disallowed the goal. But nevertheless, that gave the Union a 1-0 lead. Though Araujo trying to give one right back to Orlando, but he fired one right to Blake, and we had to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. And then in the second half, Araujo fired one high from 15 yards out, and just like the first half, despite the early opportunity for Orlando, the game really started to become tight again, and the chances was definitely premium for both of these teams, which I thought that favored the Union, and that's exactly what Jim Curtin likes to do. Like, that's the style that we know Jim Curtin and the Union does, where this is a team that they don't play the prettiest soccer in the world, and they don't score a lot of goals, but they always like to grind out result, and it just feels like this was one of those classic games where they were grinding out result. They were limiting the amount of chances that Orlando City has, but it's also a combination of the fact that Orlando was being very poor going for on the attack, and that's been the story of this season, where there's been times where they just couldn't do anything on the attack right now. And that I also have heard some whispers and some loud room drums, the fact that there's even some Orlando City fans that are starting to be fed up with the tactics that Oscar Pereira is using, because it's hard to believe that he has turned this team to being one of the most entertaining team to watch to now being one of the most boring team to watch, with the way that they just look very slow every time whenever they go on the attack, and just way too many sideway passes as what we saw in this game, and just way too easy for the Union to defend throughout this game, because it didn't take until the 91st minute where the next opportunity came from Orlando City as Torres puts it wide from close range, and then we get to the controversial call. So there was a shout for a penalty for Orlando, as they feel like Gastek actually was pulled down from Antonio Carlos. They go to VAR to see whether that is the case, and apparently VAR says that nope, that is not a penalty. Now, here's the reason why I think that's the right call in the end. And I know Orlando City fans are going to be upset, and they're probably typing in the comment section thinking that what I'm about to say is completely baloney. But I think this is the right call, because it looked like Antonio Carlos was the one that originally pulled down Gastek. And when you're the person that basically pulled the jersey off of a player or an attacker in this sequence, yeah, that's a foul in the box. And I know eventually Gastek did pull Carlos after that, but it's all about the original foul, and apparently I think VAR says that it was actually going to be a free kick for the Philadelphia Union, and no penalty that was given, because they saw that it was Antonio Carlos the one that pulled down Gastek first. And when you pull someone down, even if that the same player would pull you down again, when you're the first one to kind of instigate the foul, then yeah, that of course is going to be called a foul, and anything after that is pretty much neglected. And again, I know Orlando City fans are going to be upset, but again, I think that's the way I saw it. Or I think the other way I saw it is the fact that it just feels like both players were just going for the ball and just kind of jockey for position. So yeah, I think in the end, VAR feel like with the way that both the player was just kind of pulling jerseys for each other, it's fair play, and they move on with not giving a penalty. But that being said, Orlando did throw man forward to get the late equalizer, and in the 9th minute, they had a glorious opportunity as Tesha Akindele puts it just high in the back post. He was wide open in the back post. Like, that is one that he would absolutely want to have back. But in the end, in a controversial game, the Union win 1-0 in this one, and the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 9 that the Union has. Both teams had 1 shots on goal, 8 shots off target for the 3 that the Union has. 5 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And I know at the end of the day, Orlando City fans will feel like they got robbed in this one, but the reality is they just didn't do enough in this one that I feel like they got 3 points, and especially, the struggle continues where it's now getting to a point where is it just the inconsistency that's the problem? But the attack is a real issue. Like, this team this season have been very bad on the attack for majority of the game, and that they have to figure this out, because it doesn't take much before they could find themselves looking outside in with the way that, as I mentioned, with Columbus being just above the red line. There are a lot of teams below the red line that is hungry to try to get those positions for teams that is above the red line, and if Orlando don't pick up their slack, then yeah, they can definitely find themselves outside of the, or drop themselves below the red line. And if this team missed the playoffs this season, this will consider it be a catastrophic failure. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 4 games that happened in terms of the busy Saturday night action. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is Toronto and Charlotte. So remember in the preview, I said that Charlotte might be up against it because they're about to face 2 very, very talented players coming out of Italy, and probably 2 players that is one of the most hyped player to come into the league, and one of the most hyped debut for TFC in Federico Benedetti and Lorenzo Insigne. And yeah, it's safe to say that Charlotte defense not only had to face that tall task, but they had no answer against them, because this was a monster during night, especially in the case of Federico Benedetti, which I won't be surprised he might win Player of the Week with the performance that he had put in this one, and that he basically definitely showed that he is for real in this game, and that he is definitely going to be a difference maker for this TFC side alongside with Lorenzo Insigne. Now, early on in this one, in the first half, it was a packed house inside BMO Field, as the hype of Insigne and Benedetti is definitely real in this one. Though in the second minute, it's actually Osorio had the early opportunity as he fires it high in the back post. But then 2 minutes later, he gets on the score sheet as he would score here to give TFC a 1-0 lead. And it seemed like Charlotte nemesis of deflection goal of how, remember earlier this season where Charlotte, their biggest nemesis, and it feels also like a curse for them, where they always concede goals that is deflected. Well, it's back, because this was a moment when Carrillo trying to clear that one away, but it was blocked by Osorio and then basically redirected back into the back of the net. And yeah, I mean, as much as that is kind of unfortunate for Charlotte cases, yeah, for Carrillo, that was not a great moment. Like, when you clear the ball away, you got to make sure that you cleared it cleanly, because if you get blocked by one of your opposition, then yeah, that could not only that could go anywhere, but that could also be a situation where you end up here where it basically goes into the back of the net. Now, in Toronto cases, I think that was a little bit fortunate, but it's been a rough season for TFC, and especially with the hype of this game, and the 30,000 so that was packed inside of BMO Field that was expecting a show. That was definitely a great start to get the fans going. In fact, in the 6th minute, Benedetti then pulls it just wide from close range, and I wrote, this looked like the TFC of 2016 and 17. Remember those Toronto team where the likes of Javinko and Altidore kind of dominate the lead alongside with Victor Vasquez, and that they would consider to be the best team not only in MLS, but one of the best team in MLS history alone. I mean, we definitely got a sign of that, especially in the first half of the game, where we have not seen TFC look that lethal going forward in the attack since their championship year back in 2017, and also their near championship year back in 2016 too. Because in the 10th minute, Bradley would score here from Benedetti to give TFC a 2-0 lead. before on the other end, Bronico had Charlotte first real opportunity, but he hits one right to Bono. And then Jimenez looked like he scored the third goal for TFC, but the goal was disallowed for offside. And again, this was very close, but I think in the end it was rightfully disallowed for offside. But it would be 3-0 just 3 minutes later, as Bernardeschi would score his first career MLS goal for Marc-Anthony Kaye. And there's no doubt that this is definitely one that is going to be up for goal of the week, and maybe win goal of the week this week, because what a lovely strike this was from Bernardeschi from outside the range. And again, he is just showing in this game why the hype is real. And also trying to remind people that as much as I know there's the Lorenzo Insigne hype from day one, for Federico Bernardeschi coming into TFC is just as a big deal as Insigne coming into this team. I mean, remember, both of these players play for the Italian national team, and Bernardeschi was a huge part of Juventus and also the Italian national team Euros run that ended up of them winning against England a couple of years ago. But yeah, that of course made it 3-0. I mean, BMO Field was just absolutely rockling, though. It almost was quieted a little bit when Bono denied Schwadowski, who was wide open in the back post. And again, despite I thought TFC looked crisp on the attack, at the back they still look suspect. And I think that's going to be the story for the rest of the season, because I did say that, as much as they do have a lot of weapons going forward, I do question, do they have enough in defense where they can put in performance like this game in and game out. But it seems like they're trying to ignore that kind of thought, because just before we head to halftime, it will be 4-0 in favor of Toronto, as Bradley would score his second goal from Insigne and Marc-Anthony Kaye, and this was a world-class assist from Lorenzo Insigne. Like that touch that he basically set Michael Bradley through on goal, that is just something only a world-class player would able to do, and that's what Lorenzo Insigne can bring to the table. And just like that, TFC were up 4-0 in this game, and Charlotte was just completely ripped apart in this one. And you gotta also keep in mind, this is supposed to be one of the best the defense in the league, and for the most part, Charlotte has haven't had one of these games where they just get completely outplayed, but that was the case in this one. I mean, they just could not handle the might of Bernardeschi and Insigne, and also in the case of Michael Bradley, that is trying to turn back the clock of having an incredible performance. Now, in the second half, both Bernardeschi and Insigne actually got subbed off at halftime, so it was kind of unsurprised that TFC kind of didn't look as clinical going forward and look as sharp going forward on the attack. And Charlotte actually did start to get back into this game, as Reina did hit one right to Bono before he hits it wide from close range. And again, TFC letting the foot off the gas because their 2 DP player was subbed off at halftime. And and Charlotte in the case, they at least try to show some pride to try to get one back, but that pride probably was all ended in the 65th minute when Fuchs would get a straight red, his first red card in MLS for a denial of goal scored opportunity tackle. Though Bono did deny Vargas from close range in the 75th minute, and then it was just 10v10 soccer, as Marc-Anthony Kaye actually had to be subbed off. Well, actually not subbed off, but actually had to be come off with an injury, and that TFC at that point was already out of sub. So that was kind of one of those interesting situations where a team is out of sub and they have a player that is clearly down, but they can't make any sub because they don't have any more. So it was 10v10 soccer for the last 8 minutes, but overall I feel like the second half was kind of almost like just garbage time, where we knew this game was already over, and knowing the fact that Charlotte already down to 10 men, they didn't really have any pride left in terms of trying to get one back. But yeah, nevertheless, TFC were able to walk away with 4-0 victory. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 11 that Charlotte has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Charlotte has, 8 shots off target for the 4 that Charlotte has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Charlotte has in this game. It was a dominant performance in this one for TFC, and like I said, if this is going to be something we're going to see from Insigne and Bernardeschi, watch out. This team can be very lethal going forward on the attack, and they might just kind of ignore what I said about my concern of this defense. Like, after all, if you have a great attack, sometimes you can maybe neglect some of those defensive problem that I saw in this game. Though again, I know there will also be some people say, well, it's just one game, and it is against Charlotte, an expansion possession team this year. Let's see how they can do when they do face against a much tougher team, and also a team that can defend much better. Which, you know, that's nothing to put it against Shard. I mean, Shard this season for the most part they have been pretty good in terms of defense, though a lot of that has to do with Kalina kind of bailed them out time and time again, and yeah, that was not the case in this one. They just got run over by TFC in the first half. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Montreal and DC United, and I'll tell you what, Montreal came close to blowing a 2-0 lead in this one, because DC was really pushing in the second half of this game, and I thought that they were going to get the equalizer to salvage a draw or even win this game, but in the end, Montreal able to survive an onslaught for DC, especially in the second half. And they actually got off to a dream start after just 1 minute into the game. Kyoto would get Montreal a 1-0 lead, though it was an absolute gift from Donovan Pines. Like, he basically did a Steven Gerrard impression there, basically slip and allow Kyoto to pickpocket him there, and Kyoto basically was off to the races, and he slots that one home to give Montreal a 1-0 lead, and he almost made it 2-0 just 9 minutes later, but he fires it wide from long range, and it was just all Montreal early in this game. And DC was just getting outmatched in every single category. Their defense was absolutely dreadful. The midfield was getting outplayed, and the attack was pretty much non-existent because of how much Montreal had all the possession and looked like they were going to really put a beating on DC. And in fact, in the 16th minute, it looked like it was 2-0 when Alistair Johnston would score the second goal, but unfortunately that goal was disallowed for offside, and apparently I think this was on the development of play, and I think it was Kyoto the one that he didn't touch this ball, but we said before, you don't need to touch the ball, but if you intended to trying to play the ball or intend to touch the ball or in the path of when that through ball is played, then yeah, you're going to be called for offside, and that of course was the case where I feel like for Kyoto, you know, he did try his best to kind of just lay it off for Alistair Johnston to hit it, but he just kind of did it in a way where, yeah, it was pretty obvious that he was trying to play or he was trying to touch the ball, and again, he was in an offside position there. But the first opportunity came for DC in the 26th minute as Barry would puts it high from close range. I thought it was a good game for Miguel Barry, and that, you know, if he would have scored in this game, it would have been a great debut in this one because he was active throughout this game. Pentamis then denied Funtas in the 27th minute, and again, DC looked like they woke up after a slow start to this game, and looked like they were trying to get themselves the equalizer, but they suffer another setback because in the 35th minute, Kyoto would score again, this time from Joel Waterman, and while it was definitely a great ball from Waterman to set Kyoto through, yeah, that was not great defending for DC. I just feel that was too easy for Montreal to play that simple through ball, and Kyoto was kind of off to the races, and just like that, the visitor has a 2-0 lead in this one. It was almost 3-0 if it wasn't for Romo denying Lappanainen in the near post, and then just another bad giveaway from DC as Kyoto was trying to chip Romo from the halfway line, but that one just missed high. But then on the other end, Pantemis denying Funtas from long range, and later in the half, Funtas actually did struck the post from close range, even though I forgot to write that here on the board, and we almost had a stoppage time kind of madness that we've seen before in MLS before, only this time happening in the first half. But we do head to halftime with Montreal taking a 2-0 lead. Pentamis then denied Barry in the front post in the 51st minute as DC continue to press to try to get that goal back. They do get one back in the 56th minute, and Steven Birnbaum would score from Hopkins to give one back for DC in this one, and there was no doubt the momentum was with them, and you can see Montreal were the one that was looking on the ropes. Pentamis would deny Barry from long range before Funtas struck the post from a tight angle, and then Smith had a chance in the 78th minute but puts it wide from close range, and again, just onslaughts of pressure from DC in this game. Montreal was just hanging on by a thread, but to their credit, they did eventually limit the amount of chances late in this one, and they would actually walk away with a 2-1 victory against DC United, as the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that Montreal has, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that DC had, 3 shots off target for the 5 that Montreal has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 5 that DC had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that DC has in this game. Huge victory for Montreal, and certainly a victory that you know, if they do do get themselves in a good position in the playoffs, they can definitely look back at this game as just a resilient effort to hold off a DC team that was definitely showing some real fight to get themselves at least an equalizer or set themselves up to get them a come from behind victory, but it was not meant to be, as it is the case for what has been a rough season for this team. They just fall short in the end. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Dynamo and Minnesota. Now, I am kind of surprised that the Loons were able to walk away with 3 points, especially when I saw the starting 11 in this game without Reynoso, and that my fear after seeing Reynoso getting injured in that game against Everton, and it seems like maybe he's not going to be able to play in this one, and that of course is the case. And you know how when Minnesota have Reynoso and he's at the best of form, this team of course can be hitting on all cylinders. But when Minnesota doesn't have Reynoso, or if Reynoso is not in his best form, that's when it basically fall apart. And add to the fact that they also lost Luis Almeria halfway through this game, and I thought there was no way the Loons can pull this one off. And yet, for some reason, they were able to pull this one off. And then we also saw a guy called Bongi Huwane, who, we've been waiting for him to finally score his first goal for Minnesota. It finally happened in this one. Now, in the first half, Olferson did put it wide on the doorstep of goal. And then I thought that Houston kind of dictate the possession, as it looked like they were by far the better team. And again, for most of the part, and even as I talk about the stats of this game, they were the better team in this one. Like, there was a lot of time where this short-handed Loons team was just holding on for dear life, and that it looked like road heave mode basically was going to be the case throughout 90 minutes. And usually, I don't like road heave mode, but I feel like in this game it was kind of necessary because of how short-handed that they were, especially in the midfield. Dorsey then had a shot that was deflected wide from a corner before Lundqvist had a volley shot that he got it all wrong and goes way wide of the goal. Though the first shot did came from Minnesota in the 25th minute, as Kamar Lawrence puts it just wide from long range, and then Rosales actually went through on goal, but just couldn't quite put one past Clark, as Clark made a big save there. And again, the short-handed Loons team, to their credit, they're growing into this game. I thought they were just going to bunker for the whole game, and eventually it was going to be a matter of time before the Dynamo get the opening goal. But they grow into this game, looking to try to get the opening goal of this one. DJ Taylor had a chance to do so, but he blasted high from long range. But then, right on the stroke of halftime, it's Fragapane scoring from Huwane to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And as much as I know Fragapane has been criticized a lot this season, I think he started to turn things around. Like, I think in these last couple of games, and especially during this run that this Loons team has been going through, he has definitely played much better and started to look like the Franco Fragapane, the one that we saw last season, which was another deadly attacker, especially on the wing for this Loons team. But most importantly, great to see Bongi gets another assist. But like I said, I was hoping, maybe is this going to be finally the game that we finally see him on the score sheet, because it's not the first time that Huwane actually gets on the assist chart. But it's just, we're just waiting for finally that moment that he gets on the score sheet. But as we head into the second half with Minnesota leading 1-0, and in the second half, I thought the Dynamo, again, they realized that, yeah, they better start to bring some reinforcement. I mean, they actually didn't play Seba Ferreira in this one, which I was kind of surprised that they didn't start him in this one. I guess maybe they feel like, well, it's against a short-handed Loons team. They don't really need to put their best starters, and they can get themselves 3 points in this one. And boy, were they wrong in that case. So, Paulo Nakamura realized that, and he bring in his deadly striker into this game for reinforcement. But in the 49th minute, Dane Sinclair did deny Ulferson from close range before Ferreira had a volley that was blocked by his own teammate. I mean, that has to suck. Anytime when you're a player that hits a volley or hits a shot that is blocked by your own teammate and it's on target, that obviously not only is unfortunate, but it's got to be very, very frustrated that you could have had a goal, but your teammate basically gets in the way. But there was no doubt that the Dynamo were on the front foot again, and I thought road heave mode was reactivate again for the Loons. And again, as much as at times I hate road heave mode, I thought it was necessary because of the fact that I just worry that if they kind of open themselves again, and knowing the fact that the Dynamo are very lethal on the counterattack, yeah, they're going to concede a goal. Though Offerson did had a big opportunity in the 62nd minute, as he had a free header in the back post, and that one goes straight to Dane Sinclair, and that turns out to be a big moment, not only in that play, but also a big moment in that game, because I think if Offerson would have scored that one, this game would have been different, because just 9 minutes later, and really I think that big miss was a turning point where the Loons once again started to get themselves back into this game, and that this is kind of something I did not expect them seeing all season long, especially on the road, where when they start to just bunker, they basically stay in that bunker shit. They don't decide to get themselves back into the game, but that's not the case. They got themselves back into the game, and then in the 71st minute, it finally happened. I mean, I've been kind of teasing it for out reviewing this game, but I'm so happy that this has finally the moment. The day that Bunko Kule Hawani has finally scored a goal for Minnesota United, as he scored here from Hansen to give the Loons a 2-0 lead, and it was a great goal too for Hawani. Like, he basically hits that one nicely from outside the box. But yeah, that I feel like not only that goal was overdue, but that is well deserved because of the way that he has tried really hard. Like, if there is a guy on this Minnesota team that deserves a goal the most, it's got to be Bongi Hawani, and the fan base was definitely rooting for him to finally score. And yeah, what a moment it is for him, and that yeah, now that he of course finally get one goal and get that monkey off the back, let's see, maybe he can start to get things going too, because I just feel like there's times that as much as he is trying to score a goal, maybe he's trying it a little bit too hard, but he finally got a goal now, and let's see whether if this is going to be 2 or 3 coming up in the next couple of games. But then Pico did had a header that missed wide from close range, but in the 85th minute, he would score from Memo Rodriguez to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota, because you knew that this was not going to be an easy win for the Loons. I mean, besides the last game against DC, this team does not do easy wins. Like, this team always will give me heart attack late in this game, and trying to have a hold my breath moment. And in fact, that's exactly what I wrote, where it felt like it was hold your breath time for the Loons, because you knew that the Dynamo was throwing the kitchen sink to get the equalizer. And oh, by the way, the goal that the Dynamo scored, while it was a great goal from Fafa Pico, that was terrible closing down for the Loons. Like, you cannot give Fafa Pico that much space from outside the box and allow him to shoot from long range, because most of the times that he will punish you, and he definitely punished the Loons for that lack of closing down. But like I said, it felt like it was clinching butt time for Minnesota, as Houston was throwing the kitchen sink for that second goal and that equalizer. Pico looked to try to score that, but he mishied in the first minute of stoppage time, and then in the second minute of stoppage time, even a more scary incident where the ball was pinball into the box pinball into the Minnesota box, but Houston just could not tap it in. Like, when that ball basically was pinball, I can't tell you how much my heart stopped a couple of times when that happened. But thankfully, Houston wasn't able to capitalize, and the Loons were able to clear their lines. And yeah, in the end, they walk away with a massive 2-1 victory over the Dynamo, as the shots in this one, 22 shots for the 9 that Minnesota has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that Houston has, 10 shots off target for the 4 that Minnesota has, 8 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 73% possession compared to 27% possession that the Loons has in this game. I mean, pretty much every single category belongs to the Dynamo in this game, but, the story in this game is kind of the story of a classic cliche of what happened when one team were able to put away their chances when it matters, and another team that had the opportunity and weren't able to put away, and they were getting punished at the end. And in this case, the Dynamo were the one that suffered the consequences of not putting away their opportunity, and also not testing Dane Sinclair enough. I mean, they did test him a couple of times, but when you only got 4 shots out of 22 shots in this game, it's a telling story that they probably were shooting everywhere, and they weren't getting a lot of success into it. Compared to the Loons, they had 9 shots out, and 3 of them were on net, but they just looked like they were the more clinical side, especially in those big moments where they had a chance to get a big away goal to really change the complexion of the game, and they did exactly that, which is again something that I don't see often for this team do in their short time in MLS, but it feels like we're seeing more and more this season, especially on the road where, again, it's hard to believe this team has now won 5 road games. Like, this team has now won more road games than they have done in their first 5 years of existence, and that it also just shows you the character of this team, the fact that, this team can maybe be put away all the naysayers, the fact that they're just relying on Reynoso, and if Reynoso is not there, then things are not going to go well. Now, that being said, will we see another performance like this from the Loons, and maybe they can walk away with 3 points? We don't know, and I feel like we do need to, of course, get Reynoso and hopefully Amaria back in this team, and hopefully, in the case of Amaria, when he had to be subbed off, let's hope that injury is not that bad, because anytime when there's an injury setback from Luis Amaria, he tends to come off slow, and just as he, of course, has found a good form in his season, now that he has injury, and let's just hope it's not going to be serious. Yeah, again, I think this team still needs those important player back, because, again, when they do face against tougher team, I don't know if they can get away with the way that they played this. I mean, they were maybe fortunate that they were playing against a Dynamo team that, that win against the Quakes looked like it's now a mirage, and that it doesn't seem like they're getting themselves back into a form where they're trying to stay in the race of making the playoffs. But that being said, moving on into the next game, is Sporting KC versus LAFC. Now, this was a game that I did say in the preview I was definitely banking that there could be an upset, and that maybe Sporting KC can use that experience where they have definitely pulled off some upsets and some unexpected result against a team that they weren't expected to win. But yeah, this was not one of those games, because LAFC in this one basically remind everybody why they are the best team in the league, and why this is pretty much a very 2022 LAFC kind of game, where they start off slow in this one, but eventually grew into this game, and once they grew into this game, they never let a foothold off of this game and let Sporting KC back into this game until it was pretty much too late for Sporting KC to come back. Now, in the 3rd minute, Sharawi did deflect a shot from 22 yards out wide before Tommy hits one right to Crepeau. Eric Tommy, of course, making his debut for Sporting KC, and he had some bright moments in this one too. Had a couple of chances. In fact, that was the case for Sporting KC, as it was a promising start for the host. But as we always said, whenever a team gets a promising start against LAFC, you better score a goal, because if you don't score a goal, LAFC is going to get themselves back into this game, and next thing you know, they're going to take over this one. Because after Tommy missed just wide from 16 yards out in the 15th minute, this is when the game turns, and from then on, this is basically all in favor of LAFC until late in this one. Because in the 19th minute, Cifuentes would heads it high from close range before Melia denied Palacio, as LAFC not only looked to have shake off that slow start, but they were pressing for the opening goal in this one. Cifuentes had a chance to do so, but he puts it over the bar from the corner, and then he had a shot was clear off the line by Ndembe, and you can definitely see that Sporting KC was holding on for dear life. Like, it was just wave after wave of pressure from LAFC looking to get that goal before halftime. But fortunately for Sporting KC, they were able to survive that pressure and head to halftime scoreless in this one. But unfortunately, they would not survive that pressure for long in the second half, because LAFC again picked off where they left off and continued to press for the opener, throwing man forward to get the opening goal, and they got it in the 55th minute, as Chicho Arango would score from a Poku to give LAFC a 1-0 lead. And I again will say what I've always said about the Chicho Arango situation with LAFC. I don't know why exactly they even are thinking about selling him. Like, it just makes no sense for LAFC to decide to sell Arango, who is literally the hottest striker right now, or at least one of the hottest striker right now in the league. And that, again, there's just it makes no sense, the fact that they should get rid of him, and that I'm pretty sure John Thornton, as much as I know he's trying to be a little bit greedy and look for an even better DP kind of striker, he's got to be careful not to fall into the same victim of what we saw with Darren Eales and Carlos Bocanegra in general with Atlanta United. Where remember when Atlanta was being greedy in terms of selling Almiron and trying to get better in terms of getting all these flashy DP players, and yeah, it did not work out big time, and they also were selling off of what already is an established core in their team. And you know, for LAFC, with again these rumor with Chicho Arango potentially move on to another team, I just feel like they could potentially fall into that same trap. So that's why I think it's for the best that for LAFC keep Arango, and especially the fact that Arango is not a DP player, which it's criminal. The fact that he's not a DP player, consider he is one of the best striker in the league, and a guy that is always going to be a guy that is going to end up on a score or end up on the score sheet at the end of the game. And again, he did it again in this one to give LAFC a 1-0 lead, and then he almost made it 2-0 when he blasted high into the stands. And again, it was all LAFC now, and Sporting KC was just getting completely outplayed in this one because of the quality of LAFC. And not long after, they would make it 2-0 as in the 83rd minute, guess who? Gareth Bale scored his first career MLS goal from Arango to give LAFC a 2-0 lead. And well, that was definitely a big moment for Gareth Bale, and certainly a big moment for the media world in MLS, because you know they definitely are in for that hype of Gareth Bale coming to MLS and coming to LAFC. You got to question John Postgame there. I mean, you know, Postgame has had a great last couple of games for Sporting KC, and it seems like he might be the successor to Tim Melia, especially the fact that Tim Melia actually came off with an injury, and that he's going to become the Sporting KC netminder, at least for these next couple of games, depending on Tim Melia's injury. But yeah, that's one that he would definitely want to have back, because you know it was a good strike from Bale, but it was kind of one that was near the near post where I feel like Pushkett probably could have saved that one. But nevertheless, LAFC wouldn't care because they were 2-0 up in this game, and then it was almost 3-0 up when Bale actually went through on goal. And when he went through on goal, you would definitely bet your house the fact that he would score that goal. Like whenever Gareth Bale goes in a 1v1 situation with the quality he has, 99% of the time he buries that one. And he actually tried to chip it over Puskam, trying to be cheeky there, but yeah, unfortunately he puts that one wide, and you know that's one that he would absolutely like to have back, and one that you do not see very often, that he in the quality that Gareth Bale has had, he would miss such a big opportunity as what we saw in that play. But as we enter stoppage time, which there was a lot of stoppage time, this 10 minutes to be exact, again, a lot of that may be due to the Melia injury that we saw early in the second half. LAFC was starting to put their foot off the gas, and this is when Sporting KC trying to push for a goal to set up a grandstand finish, because when you have 10 minutes of stoppage time, that's still a lot of time left in the game. And Johnny's tried to do so in the 7 minute of stoppage time, but he skies it over the bar. But in the end, LAFC with a 2-0 win over Sporting KC to make sure that they stay in the Supporters Shield lead for another week, no matter what Austin does later today. But the shots in this one, 13 shots committed, 11 that Sporting KC had, 5 shots on goal for the 3 that Sporting KC had, 7 shots off target for the 6 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that LAFC has in this game. And like I said, this was just a complete dominant performance for LAFC, at least for majority of it, and also just a very typical LAFC kind of performance, where this is a team that once they get into the second half and you don't score goals and you don't take the lead against them, you know you're probably losing to them, because they're just such a good second half team, and they showed it once again in this one against a lowly Sporting KC side. But that being said, I am now going to switchboard and look at the last 4 games that happened in terms of the Saturday night action. But moving on, in the next match is RSL versus FC Dallas, and boy do Dallas need this one badly. I mean, it's been a miserable last couple of games for Dallas, and in general, a miserable June and July for them going through this 7-game winless run. But they got a massive 1-0 win in this one against RSL, where they score early in this game and then just kind of hold on for dear life, and also thank the fact that RSL basically had nothing to offer in terms of the finishing department in this game. Now, early on, Savarino hits one just wide from close range before Cordova hits one right to pass. Then on the other end, Velasco curls one straight to McMath before Palmico skies one over the bar after just a bad turnover from RSL. And again, it was a lively start to this game as both teams was pushing for the first goal, which inevitably, you know there's going to be an opening goal in this game. And it happened in the 14th minute as Jesus Ferreira gets himself back on the score sheet from Palmico and Areola to give FC Dallas a 1-0 lead, though Ruiz looked to try to tie it up for RSL immediately, but he hits a one-hopper to pause. And I also thought the Dallas got to watch these turnover too. I mean, I mentioned RSL also had some bad turnover of their own, but so was Dallas. I mean, they were turning the ball over very casually and also playing out of the back casually. Like, there was a couple of times where RSL picked off those passes out of the back for FC Dallas, and it almost cost Dallas on a goal because of those bad turnovers. Though in the 31st minute, they actually almost conceded of what would have been an own goal as Tomasi, of course, just puts it over the bar. I mean, it was between him and I think it was Savarino that was diving for it, and he kind of got to the end of it, and it's just one of those moments where, you know, when a ball comes in, unfortunately, a defender got it first, and he heads it into his own net, and he almost did that there, but very fortunate that one go over the bar. But there was no doubt that RSL was pushing late, or actually not pushing late, but pushing hard to try to get this equalizer, and they almost got it right on the stroke of halftime if it wasn't for Martin Paus robbing Brody, who had a free header in the back post, and Dallas was able to hold on for a 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Ruiz hits a one-hopper right to Paus before I thought RSL, again, picking off where they left off and continued to dictate this game and push for the equalizer. Savarino pulls it wide from close range before Herrera skies it over the bar. And again, it just feels like Dallas, they were going full park the bus mode. Like, it was 10 men back in their own box, and they was just going to bunker and hope to hold on to the 1-0 lead. And when you do that on the road, I mean, there's definitely some risk in terms of that. I mean, when you just kind of go bunker mode, or in some case I say row heave mode, yeah, you're basically going to have to soak up a lot of pressure, and especially with the quality that RSL has had on the attack, and the fact that Dallas are one of the best team in terms of their defensive structure, especially doing this 7-game winless run. I didn't think that it was going to work out, but credit Dallas. They actually did do relatively well in terms of the bunker, and that bunker shape kind of show come back in a way where it kind of almost reminds me a little bit of Nashville, of how they bunker in. Anytime when you are getting compliment in terms of how Nashville is bunkered, you know you're doing a good job in terms of your low block, because RSL was having a tough time creating any quality chances against the bunker. Like, there was just no space for them to operate, though you also maybe could say that it's a combination of RSL not moving the ball fast. I mean, one of the things you need to do in a bunker is you just need to maybe move the ball fast or play direct over the bunker, and RSL just did not do that. They were just moving it a little bit too slow. Though Savarino did hit one right to pass before Miriam trying to curls it in from long range, but he puts it wide. We know Justin Miriam can definitely hit those opportunity. But it really is all hands on the pump for Dallas. I mean, it was getting to that point where I'm pretty sure if you're a Dallas fan, you must be just holding on to the edge of your seat for what seems like. I mean, since probably the first half, and that it feels like maybe your butt is probably almost off the seat, because it feels very, very hard to just, you know, kind of hold your breath for that long, and seeing the team on the brink of potentially concede. And they had to weather one last storm in the 6-minute stoppage time, or one last chance from RSL, as Cordova blasted high from long range, and right after when that ball goes high into the stands, the full-time whistle was blown, and Dallas getting a much needed win to end their 7-game winless run. As the shots in this one, 25 shots compared to just 7 that Dallas had, 2 shots on goal for the 5 that RSL has, 11 shots off target for the 3 that Dallas had, 9 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 69% possession compared to 31% possession that Dallas has in this game. And, you know, for RSL, they kind of suffer the same problem that we see some of these other home teams, like what we talked about Columbus earlier in this review, where they were by far the better team. They dominated the possession, they dominated the shot category. The problem is that they didn't put enough those on target, and in the case of RSL, yes, it's impressive that they put 25 shots in this game, but the problem is only 5 of them was on target. And while Martin Paz did had to make some big save, I still feel like they didn't really test him enough, and that, yeah, it's a very frustrating result for RSL, and also kind of a big letdown after they had such an impressive performance against Sporting KC, and they had a chance to continue that against a struggling Dallas team, and they weren't able to do so. And not only that, dropping all 3 points in this game. But now moving on in terms of the next match. And speaking of a team that desperately need a win, that is the Seattle Sounders, who got a 2-1 win against the Colorado Rapids. And this was definitely not an easy one for the Sounders, because they went behind very early in this game. In fact, just 3 minutes in this game, Lewis was able to score from Rubio to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. And yeah, that Sounders defense completely switched off. Like, the fact that Rubio basically slid the ball right to Lewis, who went through on goal, that's just very unlike Sounders. And we talked about them being one of the most elite back line. That is something you do not see happen often, and the Sounders were punished because of it. And just like that, they were down 1-0 in this game. And knowing the fact that the Sounders have really struggled this season in terms of scoring, and they don't have Rui Diaz in this one, you just fear that, is this going to be one of those games where they're probably going to lose? Now, in the 13th minute, Abubakar trying to give the Rapids a second, but missed wide. And, Colorado, even though they got a dream start in this game, they know they can't just sit back like what Dallas did and absorb all the pressure against opposition. Because while I know the Sounders team is struggling to score goals, they have some good quality, and they definitely have much more dangerous player on this team than, let's say, RSL. I mean, no disrespect to RSL, but when you look at the front three of RSL compared to the front three of the Sounders, it's a bit of a different in terms of talent. And in the 17th minute, Ladero blasted high from close range before Morris had a free header that goes straight to Yarbrough. And the Sounders were finally starting to creating some chances. And in some way, I feel like the Rapids, ever since they got the opening goal, they kind of did something that I don't think they should have done, which is just kind of sit back and absorb all the pressure, because the Sounders were really dictating the possession, but now they're starting to create some chances. And that, again, even with the goal drought that the Sounders had, if you give them opportunity, they're going to punish you. In the 37th minute, Yarbrough was able to deny Morris after he went through on goal, and then Yeimar had a shot that was clear off the line before Yeimar had another goal an opportunity, this time on the doorstep of goal, but somehow he heads that one high. I mean, to his credit, when he heads that one, he was almost on the turf there. And when you basically try to head to just above the turf, or just a couple of feet above the turf, it is definitely hard to do so. But at the same time, yeah, he definitely want to have that one back. But there was no doubt the Sounders were pounding on the door, like, they were desperate in terms of finally ending that goal drought that was at around 300 plus minute up to that point, and they finally did. In the 43rd minute, Jordan Morris finally break the 300 plus minute goal drought that the Sounders were endure, as he scored here from Medranda and Ladero to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And the Sounders not having the momentum, trying to get the second goal right on the stroke of halftime. But we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece. Now in the second half, Fry actually denied Estevez from close range after, again, it was a bit of a slow start for the Sounders to come out the gate, and the Rapids almost again catching the Sounders cold because of being sloppy in the defensive part and not really being organized coming out of the break. And then things kind of took a bad turn for the Sounders as Kellen Rowe would get his second yellow card. Now, this is probably the first time I've ever seen a player getting a second yellow card for time wasting, and in this case, Rowe basically throwing the ball away and gets a second yellow card because of it. Now, obviously, the league has emphasized this year about players that is throwing the ball away or kicking the ball away either out of frustration or just trying to waste some time, because that's going to be a yellow card. And while I mean, I don't know if Rowe kind of meant to do that. I don't know if this maybe was frustration that he couldn't keep the ball in play. Yeah, he cannot do that. Like, once you saw him kind of had the motion of throwing the ball away, yeah, you feel like he was going to be getting a yellow card, and knowing he's already on a yellow card, there was that possibility. Is this going to be maybe one of those rare cases where we see a second yellow for time wasting? And it is. I mean, that's got to be very, very frustrated if you're the Sounders. But you know, in the end, that's what the league is trying to emphasize. You cannot just throw the ball away or even kick the ball away, even if you're frustrated of something or trying to time waste late in the game. Now, in the 51st minute, Zardes did heads it wide, as you know. Again, momentum was with the Rapids. They got all off to the second half, the better team, and were trying to take advantage of that man advantage. Though that momentum was quickly shut down later, as in the 55th minute, Arriaga would blast it high from long range, and this was when the Sounders really started to get into this game again. Though in the 59th minute, Yarbrough almost commit a howler after he spilled a Morris long-range shot, but was very fortunate the fact that he was able to get it on the second attempt. And that near goalkeeping howler moment must have rattled Yarbrough, because in the 70th minute, he committed another mistake, but this time he was punished, as a penalty was given to the Sounders after he brought down Morris in the box. But you know, the whole story was Yarbrough basically spilling this one, and that Morris was able to get to it, and that Yarbrough had no choice but to bring Morris down in the box. And yeah, it was a penalty for the Sounders. And as the old saying go, you commit one mistake and you get away with it. Good job on you. But if you commit a second one, actually that didn't sound right. But you get what I mean in terms of the fact that you can get away with one mistake, but if you make that same mistake again, you're most likely going to get burned, and that's the case for William Yarbrough there. And the Sounders won the penalty, and they took full advantage of that, as Ladero unsurprisingly buries that one away. I mean, Ladero is pretty much automatic from the spot there, and he buries that one to give the Sounders a 2-1 lead. And then it was almost 3-1 when Bruin tried to score the third goal, but missed wide. And again, despite being a man down, the Sounders looked like they were the better team since the sending off, which has been the story of this season. I mean, there's more times or not this season. Just because you're a man up doesn't mean you're always going to take advantage of the game, and the Sounders are definitely playing better and look to put this game away despite down a man. Though on the other end, Fry did deny Lewis from close range, and then Abuka heads it wide from close in the 83rd minutes, as the Rapids realized that, we do have a man advantage, and we're going to try to push late for a draw. It wouldn't work out for them, because the Sounders would hold on to win 2-1 in this game, as the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 8 that the Rapids had, 7 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Rapids had, 9 shots off target, 4 shots off target compared to 5 that the Sounders has had. Well, there's no way they would get 9 shots off target when they only had 8 shots in this one. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 5 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. And like I said, this is a much-needed win for the Sounders, who has kind of gone through a rough patch, especially ever since they haven't had Rui Diaz up front. But for the Rapids, this has been a rough season, and the problem on the road this season continue, as they remain one of the only 2 teams to have yet to win on the road so far this year. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, well, one of the team that has been having some road problem is the Chicago Fire. But in this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps, they definitely ended that streak of them going on a long winless road streak. Now, unlike the Colorado Rapids, at least the Fire has won a road game, but that was all the way back, I believe, in March, if I remember, when they won on the road against DC United. But ever since, they have never won a road game this season. And as I said, that all changed in this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps, as they got a 3-1 win against the Whitecaps in the game where I think this was by far the best road game that the Fire has played all season long. And in some way, you could even say that this was just a perfect road game for the Chicago Fire throughout this game against the Whitecaps. Now, early on, Dahomey did struck the post from close range, and that turns out to be a costly miss, because just 7 minutes later, Shaqiri would score from Navarro to give the Fire a 1-0 lead. But that really shouldn't have been a goal if it wasn't for a bad turnover in the midfield. Again, just like the last couple of weeks, I've noticed we have seen a lot of goals that have came off of bad turnover, and this was another example of it, where the Whitecaps being careless in the midfield, giving the ball away, allowing the Fire to work with a short field, and the Fire took full advantage of it, and they lead 1-0 in this game. Now, Gutierrez to make it 2-0, but he puts it just wide. But there was no doubt the momentum was with the Chicago Fire. Mueller then curled one just wide in the 34th minute before Pineda actually struck the post, but that one actually redirected back to Kubas, who almost scored an own goal because of the fact that that ball hits the post and redirect off of him, and he's kind of fortunate the fact that it went wide. But there was no doubt that the Fire has all the momentum. They were by far the better team up to that point, and the Whitecaps were just all over the place in the defensive end. Like, there was just so much space for the Chicago Fire to work at. But at the first minute of stoppage time, Slonina did deny Cavallini for a point-blank effort as the Whitecaps almost scored against the run of play. And they did score against the run of play. That would be the most Chicago Fire moment on the road, where we've seen this before, where the Chicago Fire can be a good team on the road. They can dominate on the road, but as long as they don't get that second goal and they made a boneheaded mistake on the other end, or, you know, they made one simple mistake, and next thing you know, they basically collapse and lose that game. But the good thing about the Fire in this one, it did not happen. Though they did give up the equalizer in the 54th minute as Cavallini would score from goal and Galdino to tie the game up at 1 apiece. But again, give credit to the Fire. This was not one of those games where, you know, with that equalizer, you could have easily thought that the Fire was going to collapse. But that's not the case. They continue to press to trying to get that second goal and get the lead back. Duran had a big opportunity there as he had a free header that was missed high. Before on the other end, Slonina actually robbed Goal, who was through on goal there, and all of a sudden, it looked like this game was up for grabs because both teams was having some grade A chances looking to get that second goal, and it turns out it was the Chicago Fire, the one that got that second goal. As they retake the lead in the 76th minute, it's Rafael Schihos, 3 games in a row with a goal another goal in this one. That's 3 games in a row with a goal, as he scored here from Mueller to retake the lead to make it 2-1. Though on the other end, Blackman looked for a quick response for Vancouver, but he missed high there in the 78th minute. But then in the 90th minute, Mueller basically called the game as he scored here from Shaqiri to make it 3-1 in favor of the Fire. And that would be the final score of this game. As the Chicago Fire, you know, I talk about how if they want to get themselves in the thick of the playoff conversation, you know, we know that they have done well so far at home, but can that translate into the road for them? Well, at least in this game, the answer is yes, because with this big home win, I think they're only like 2 points back of the playoff position, and it's safe to say that the Chicago Fire is definitely back in the conversation of that. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 8 that the Whitecaps had, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had, 10 shots off target compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams have 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. And I know also some Fire fans will say, well, this team have done this to me before. They have given me false hope, the fact that they're back in the playoff position, but it turns out that that was not the case in the end. But, you know, when you look at how they've been playing in these last couple of games, I mean, yes, I know it's easy for them to trying to fool you and have some false hope, the fact that they be in the playoff position, but hey, at least they have some hope that is going on, and at least, you know, maybe that false hope might turns out to be a playoff position, because you know one team that doesn't have hope right now, it's the San Jose Earthquakes, which moves on to the next game between the Timbers versus the Quakes. And you know, I knew they were going to lose this game, though I will say that when I saw how the Quakes played in this one, I mean, I didn't actually watch this game because, you know, I was actually ground hopping, but at the same time, I didn't even need to watch this game to know that, yeah, the Quakes are probably going to lose this one. But when I watched the highlights of this game, I will say that the Quakes played well in this one, and that this is actually one of their better road games this season. But the problem for them in this game is a guy called Ayers Ivicic decided to play the best game of the season for the Portland Timbers, and a combination of just that bad luck that is part of the Providence Park curse that the Quakes have endured. I mean, again, there's a reason why the Quakes have never won at Providence Park in league play. There's always some crazy things that prevent them to win in a game, and it happened again in this one. And again, just a combination of bad luck and Ivicic just pretty much playing the game of his career, or the game of the season, is the reason why the Timbers were able to prevail with a 2-1 win. Now, early on, Larea did puts it high after the Quakes turned the ball over in the midfield, and I immediately wrote, looked like the defense already picked up where they left off in the last game, because, you know, in the last game I talked about how they were committing some brutal turnover over and over again, and in some way they did the same thing in this game too, but early on, yeah, it looked like the defense didn't skip a beat, and this looked like it was going to be a long day for the Quakes, because if there's one team you do not want to give the ball away cheaply in your own half, it's the Portland Timbers, because they can definitely take advantage of those bad turnover. Though Ivicic did deny Espinoza from close range again. Little did we know that he would have an incredible game in this one. And then on the other end, Aspria was able to put it wide from long range before he had another chance on the header that goes over the bar. And then Ivicic robbed Lopez from a point-blank effort. And again, both teams was just pressing for this opening goal, as, you know, there was some optional defending from both teams too. Like I talked about how bad the Quakes defense was for these past couple of games, and it was the case in this one too. But same goes for the Timbers. I mean, there was times where I thought the Quakes had some big opportunity, but also some very questionable defending. And in the last chance, you got to question who in the world was marking Marcos Lopez there, and how in the world was he allowed so much space to basically had a chance to score from close range. But, you know, they got bailed out by Ivicic, making a world-class save to rob Lopez there from point blank. But in the 44th minute, you know, I talked about both teams pressing for the opener. We eventually do see the opener from one of these teams, and it comes actually from the San Jose Earthquakes, as Kikanovic would score to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. And just to shows you why that, you know, the only reason why the Timbers probably aren't down like 2 or 3-0 in this one, because of Ivicic heroic. This, of course, is the case because Ivicic making another good save in this one. But again, the defense this time decided to let him down even more because, yeah, Mabiala decided that he's just going to not clear the ball away. In fact, he actually kind of whiffed that clearance there, and it goes right in the hands of Kikanovic. So, yeah, that's got to be a brutal moment for him, but also for Ivicic, of how, you know, I'm pretty sure Mabiala is trying not to show that to Ivicic in film next week, because you know he's gonna be mad when he realizes defenders just let him down after him making an incredible save there. But nevertheless, the Quakes were up 1-0, and, you know, even though they were up 1-0 at that point, I mean, I'm pretty sure every Quakes fans are you know, they're happy that the team is leading, but they know that it's not going to last. Like, there's a reason why, again, the Quakes have lost so many games against the Timbers at Providence Park, and you think that there's going to be something that is going to go against the Quakes that will cause them to lose this game. Well, Larea did have a chance to get that equalizer, and almost had a classic moment where the Providence Park curse struck, meaning that the Quakes conceded on the other end, as he actually had a shot that was deflected that goes wide. But that kind of foreshadowed what is about to come, because in the second half, after the Quakes were up 1-0 heading into halftime, in the 53rd minute, Nishgoda was able to score from Chara and Williamson, and that's Diego Chara, of course, the one that scored the goal. And really, this was basically once again a deflection that Nishgoda hit, but it was just a wicked deflection that bounced into the back of the net. And when I saw that, I immediately wrote the Quakes are going to lose this game, because I knew that the curse of Providence Park has struck. Like, you don't have that kind of bad luck without acknowledging the fact that your team is simply cursed at that stadium and just aren't allowed to get a win, and that I just had a feeling that the Timbers were going to win this one, and it feels like they kind of had that feeling too, because they started to press for the go-ahead goal. Van Raken had a shot that was hit straight to Marcinkowski before Marcinkowski had to deny Nishko from close range, and the momentum was all with the Timbers as they were looking to trying to get that go-ahead goal, and it just feels like it's a matter of time before the Quakes concede, and they finally did in the 71st minute. It's Darren Aspria scoring for Moreno and Chara to make it 2-1 in favor of Timbers. Oh, I forgot to mention, I think that's Jimmy Chara, the one that got the assist, and not his brother. I probably should have checked it a little bit later, but either way, that gives the Timbers a 2-1 lead. And also Darren Aspria, you know, after it feels like this season he's kind of gone back to his norm of he's not allowed to score a goal until it's October. Well, it feels like maybe the MLS gods decided to bless him here, of him at least able to score a goal in in this one. But also, as I said, it's a combination of the Providence Park curse against the Quakes, where, yeah, they cannot have good things in this one. And that kind of continued in the 75th minute as Ibobasi had a sitter in the back post. And this is the second week in a row Ibobasi had a sitter there. Should have get the second goal for the Quakes. And also, ironically, happening around the same time. And once again, he missed that sitter in the back post before Ivicic was able to deny Cow in the 86th minute. And I thought the Timbers were living on the edge in terms of some of their defending. Like, some of their defending and some of the way that they were trying to close out games were very similar to how they did in 2020, which is not thinking about defending and not really closing out games very well, and bound to concede late in this one. But then in the 90th minute, or in the 87th minute, they actually almost put this game away when Marcinkowski was able to rob Bravo in the front post. But then in the 90th minute, Ivicic would one up Marcinkowski as he would rob Espinoza of what is one of the best saves that we've seen this season. Like, the fact that he was able to make a fingertip save to push that one onto the post, or tip that one onto the post, is something miraculous. Like, that one looked like it was going to go in, but Ivicic, again, it was a night. It was a career night for him, and also a night, the best night that he has in terms of between the stake this season, making an incredible save to deny the Quakes of getting a little Goonies magic moment late in this game. And in the end, the Timbers able to walk away with a 2-1 victory. And the shots in this one, 19 shots for the 11 that the Quakes had, 5 shots on goal for the 7 that the Quakes had, 8 shots that was all target compared to 3 that the Quakes had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, 42% possession compared to the 58% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And, coming out of this game, I'm not even mad in terms of how the result turned out for the Quakes, because I knew they were going to lose this game. And although, like I said, they play well in this one, it was just that the night belonged to Aya Ivicic, and also the fact that the Quakes just have no luck whenever they play the Timbers at Providence Park, and the curse is a real thing in this. And let's also not forget to mention that they're not making the playoffs, as I always say about this team. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video, or what do you think of these 4 games that happened, and also the other 8 games I've mentioned earlier in this video. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time with another Sports Hop series episode.